What's good, guys? So today I have for you a Zoodiac deck profile. I want to give a special shout out before I get on with the list to my boy Jack. He helped me out with the list. We talked back and forth about the theory on it. We came up with a very nice list. This list is super crisp. We're playing a few cards that people aren't really playing. A new link from Dual Overload, because as we know, every card from Dual Overload is just absolutely nuts. But let's get on with the list. So the monsters, I don't think you could change around the monsters. I think you have to play these bare minimum. Don't play any less because you need to see a Zoodiac monster to have a play. And like the strongest point about this deck is the fact that it's so consistent and one monster will net you advantage. But yeah, so one Zoodiac Rat Pier, three Thoroughblade, three Whiptail, three Ram Ram. I'm sure everybody knows, but if you guys want to know, look them up. Thoroughblade discards one to draw one. Rat Pier sends one to the graveyard. Whiptail, quick effect, you could equip it. And the monster that he battles, the Zoodiac monster that he'll battle, is banished. And then Ram Ram, if Ram Ram's popped, you can special summon any Zoodiac from your graveyard. And then a lot of your combos require Rat Pier to send Ram Ram now. And you'll either Dryden pop it to get another 4, or you'll just keep it on field. But yeah, so I think this is the bare minimum you have to play. And then another package that I think everybody now knows, to the Time Thief package, you have to play Winder, because I don't think there's any other package that you could play that like is better than what these cards do for the deck. Winder just specials itself by detaching a material from your XYZ, and that's just so free. And when Winder is summoned, it searches the Time Thief Beazle ship, and Beazle ship is essentially a level 4 monster that keeps special summoning itself back by doing the same thing, and it has a DD Crow like effect. And one of your biggest combos, if you have a Zoo and Time Thief Winder, you could set up the Beazle ship to be a DD Crow while having Dryden and Redoer. So very staple. I think all those should be played. The Time Thief cards are really good in this deck. But then hand traps, this is a control deck. You're going to grind with the opponent. So we have to play some hand traps. And the best hand trap going forward into this new format with Needle Fiber and all these crazy link monsters, Nibiru. You have to play Nibiru. I think Nibiru has to be in people's main deck or sides going forward. And then the 3 Ash being the most generic of the hand traps. And then the interesting one, Ghost Spell. We talked back and forth. We were thinking about DD Crow and stuff. I think a lot of people want to play DD Crow or Ogre or something. But Ghost Spell is really good. And one thing that my friend Jack noted was one of the games that you can lose is your Dryden being banished. Now that Dryden is back, it's still at 1. And your main play requires you to always just special your Dryden back if you're going to grind. And there's a chance of DD Crow or a Call by the Grave hitting it. And I think Ghost Spell is almost the same thing as DD Crow, but when you can use it defensively or offensively, I think the card just has infinite value. And this card is definitely like a sleeper card that you guys should test out in this deck, just because getting your Dryden banished is one of the easiest ways to lose. Having Dryden is one of the craziest things, and I really recommend trying the Ghost Spell. And then the spells, Monster Reborn, generic. It's one of the few cards where if you lose your Zoo monster, like on normal summon, somehow the Zoo monsters get removed from the field. Monster Reborn is one of the few cards that let you keep playing after that. And the other one being Barrage. And then the 3 tanky, 3 Call by the Grave. Then 3 Desires. You have to play Desires because you just have to come out of the early game. It's really easy to come out of the early game, and you want to have a big hand to have hand traps and your Dryden there. And then the new card that just came back, Pot of Avarice. This is by far the best deck that you could use Pot of Avarice in. There's a lot of decks that really can't use Pot of Avarice turn 1. This deck can always use Pot of Avarice turn 1, and it's just so free. I love Pot of Avarice in this deck. There's very few decks that I think Pot of Avarice should be played in. Just because it says draw 2 doesn't mean every deck can play it. But this is the deck to play Pot of Avarice in. And then the last 4 cards, they're going to be like flex spots. You guys can play around with it, but they're really good cards. 2 Chalice, because we want an out to Winda, and there's not many outs to Winda in the main deck besides just hard drawing Whiptail or getting to Whiptail. And then 2 Dynamiscus. And whenever you have Dryden, you just want one other non-engine card with your Dryden to have 2 interruptions, and then just keep going back and forth. The deck is very fragile now, and you just need more than just one Dryden pop. One Dryden pop is not going to be enough. And whenever you have like a Nibiru backed up with an Ash or Ghost Spell or Chalice or Dynamiscus or even a Call by, you usually secure your turn and it comes back to you and you can kill them then. Or just net so much advantage that they won't ever be able to come back. So very standard deck. I think the Zoo lineup, you have to play. The Time Thief, definitely play it. The hand traps, you guys can play around with it. And then the 4 flex spot. But definitely play Pot of Avarice and Desires. I think you should max that on it for sure. And then the extra deck is super tight because we're just forced to play, just like in Sky Striker, we're just forced to play so many Zoo XYZs, but the Zoo XYZs are very good. So the first one being Dryden. He just came back. Dryden coming back definitely helps this deck so much. This deck was unplayable for like 3 years now, and when it was playable, this deck was by far the strongest deck in the game. So Dryden's back. One Dryden. Three Chakanai. Chakanai is your new like best zoo monster, the one that you'll always go into because it lets you like do things that are kind of unfair. It's your resource play now because you get to pick up something again from your graveyard. Then three Tiger Mortar. Same thing. You just have to max out on. Maybe you can make an argument to like play less Tiger Mortar or Chakanai, but like I think you just have to. Like games are gonna grind when you're playing this. And then the Borbo. Sometimes you'll just steal a game because this card can direct attack. And then the Hammer Kong. Some of your plays you might want it, you might need it. It's like you can't target the zoos. It's not bad. You should definitely just play it. And then the utility rank fours that you could always end on if you see your Time Thief, the Dweller, and then the Redoer. These cards are crazy. Definitely recommended. And then you could like maybe cut one of these to play another like utility rank 4, maybe Tornado Dragon's a thought, Dagusto Emerald, and then the links, Gravity Controller, and then there's a new one I have to talk about, Bujinki Ashima. I'm sorry if I mispronounce it, but like let's just get with the effect. The effect is like really insane. So two monsters with the same level. This whole deck is just level 4. It's a level 4 deck. Very easy to make. And then if this card is link summoned, you can special summon two monsters with the same level, one from your hand and one from your graveyard, but negate their effects. Who cares? And then immediately after, you can XYZ summon using those two cards. So whenever you put your resources into this card, all you'll need is one other extender in your hand, and then you have a free rank 4. And not only is this just making a free rank 4, it just has another extra effect, and I love when cards just get like free effects like this. If an XYZ monster this card points to activates this effect by detaching materials, you can target one spell or trap card your opponent controls, destroy it, which is very good. So much utility, and that's the name of the game with this deck. Yeah, it's about consistency, it's about utility, but this card is very underrated. I love this card, and I just recently like figured out about it, and I was like, oh, like this is very good in Zoo. This is one of the few decks I think like this is one of the decks that like can really utilize this card. I don't know if Bujins actually are going to be able to play this card. And then the Unicorn, just generic. You can make this Phoenix or Unicorn, whatever you want. Unicorn's a little better. And then the obvious Infinite Track, Fortress, Mega Clops. This is one of your win conditions. Some decks just do not have an out to this card. You kind of have to play this card. But yeah, that's the extra deck. Very staple. Definitely try the Bujin card. And then the Zoodiac XYZs. You could play around with the numbers, but I would consider just maxing out on it. And then the side, I'm going to give you guys a generic side to work with. 2 Lancia, 3 Lightning Storm, 3 Evenly Match, and then some hard traps that we can play when we know we're going first. Because the ceiling of our deck is not our strength. The ceiling of this deck is the consistency. And when that's your like strength, you want trap cards that you just want to side in when you're going first just to blow out the game. So we have 3 Strike, 3 Anti-Spell, 1 Order. And like the Shadal deck, when you get to go first against it, Shadal is very difficult for this deck to handle, so you kind of do need these anti-spells orders. But yeah, that's the deck right there. It's a very pure Zoo deck. Oh, one last thing to note. I'm sure you guys see this. We are not playing combo, and I just want to cover this real quick. I think a lot of decks are playing combo, and I just think that's very incorrect, especially at like multiple copies. Combo is not that good because the only way we ever get to Zoodiac combo is through Rat Pier's effect activating or hard drawing it. So those are your two only ways. And whenever you summon Rat Pier, you have to send Ram to the graveyard or a Zoo piece because you have to be able to revive something because you have nothing in your graveyard set up. It's not like before where Broad Bull would detach the Zoo and you could just summon something back. So that is the biggest reason. I think it's a big mistake trying to play this at multiple copies. This card is like deceptively not that good. It used to be very good, but it was very good because we had Broad Bull putting something back, but our Rat Pier always has to send something else, a monster, to the graveyard. So I do not think combo is that good. That was our logic behind not playing combo. But let me know what you guys think about the list. It's a very staple list. I think it's a very clean, good list. The deck is obviously fragile. I'm not going to say it's a tier 1 deck. It has some weaknesses. The dinosaur deck can just banish your Dryden on turn 1. It's kind of scary, but when this deck gets going, like I said, consistency and just being able to grind with the opponent. If that's your playstyle, you like control decks, give this a shot. Let me know what you guys think, and stay tuned. Subscribe for more.